Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the Fun Show here at Big TV. This is the August 20th edition of the Fun Show. We're back to our normal format. We're glad to have Susan Harrington back with us. Michael Sallin is over there trying to find a tune on the Kira keyboard. And I, as always, unfortunately, am Arch O'Reilly.
Not unfortunately. Fortunately.
Anyway, here we sit once again on the stage in the auditorium of the Brookline High School. Due to our inability to navigate the stairs at our normal studio. But we're here, and we're glad to be here. And this week we have a new addition to the lexicon to go with alternative facts.
Truth.
What I can't remember if it was Sarah Huckabee Sanders or her predecessor who announced the concept of alternative. These aren't lies; they're alternative facts. But now, that wonderful touring buffoon, Rudy Giuliani, who, believe it or not, was once mayor of New York City,
yes,
has announced with great conviction that truth is not truth. Truth is not truth.
Well, there's different kinds of truth, he says.
Right,
That's
right.
also,
Truth is not truth. And I guess in the, I should remember up here early on the necrology section, we lost Aretha Franklin.
Yes.
Oh, that's sad. That's a really sad story.
Aretha was very special, and the tributes have been useful in reminding us about Aretha. It is interesting. I don't mean this in any way on Aretha, but it has struck me that every time a significant performer dies, for the next couple of weeks, everybody tells you that they were the greatest of all time, with non-pareil. Nobody else ever stood up. So, I mean, in their justifiable eagerness to celebrate Aretha Franklin, all of a sudden you'd think that Whitney Houston was chopped liver.
Oh.
But I guess that's reasonable to do.
Showbiz,
We'd like to remind people, as if it were necessary, that the state primary is essentially in 2 weeks. And it's the day after Labor Day, which may prove to be problematic to a lot of people who will be very busy shifting from summer to school season and stuff. So I remind you all that you can go down to the town clerk's office, get an absentee ballot,
and vote.
You can vote now. The last day to vote, I think, is the 30th. Next Saturday, there'll be extra hours at the town clerk's office to vote. So if trying to remember to get in to vote on the day after Labor Day poses a problem, you can vote right now. Well, not right now, but you can vote tomorrow morning at the town clerk's office. And this is a significant election. There's important things that are going on in it. So it's a worthwhile vote, and I urge you to vote. And speaking of elections, I'm terribly amused by this commercial, which is running almost as much as Morgan & Morgan at the moment. Incidentally, I would never hire Morgan & Morgan because they advertise too much, which is kind of funny.
Well, they're in Florida.
Well, they're all over the place, yeah. Well, they can't pronounce things correctly. I mean, I'm not doing business with any company that pronounces it insurance.
Oh, well.
I'm sorry. People who pronounce it insurance are not allowed to do business in Massachusetts. But anyway, there's this guy, John Kingston, and he's got himself a commercial stuffing a hot dog in his face over at Fenway Park. And he refers to himself as political outsider John Kingston. I find it so amusing that the man is ashamed to admit he's a Republican.
Wow.
He's also running this ad so often that it
That we
has to
know.
be being paid for by the Trump people.
Yeah.
Because there's no way this guy who doesn't have a ghost of a chance of even doing respectably is running ads as if he was a 12-term incumbent.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's only Trump's way of taking a slap at Elizabeth Warren, who is not afraid to call a criminal by his real name, Donald Trump, the criminal.
Brennan would like that line you just gave.
Huh?
Brennan would like that line.
Brennan was wonderful. Brennan doubled down and said, yes, he absolutely agrees with what he previously said.
Yeah.
It's treason.
And he'll go to court to prove it if necessary.
Yes,
I
Susan.
had a question and it just went away. It might come back.
I
It was
ran,
about Kingston. I was going to ask.
I ran over it.
No, I was going to say. So he hasn't. Where is he? Says he's a political outsider, but I never heard of him at all before. What did he do?
Well, I mean, in his ad, he goes, I'm John Kingston, political outsider, running to be your senator and oppose extremists like Elizabeth Warren.
They show her leaving. Somebody that
He's from
has her
somewhere
hair.
down on the South Shore or something. He's a businessman.
Oh, but I mean, he's not holding any office anywhere.
Oh, heavens
No,
no.
Okay.
No, he
Thank
was
God,
he
yeah.
was apparently one of Trump's earliest supporters in Massachusetts, and I guess just after Ernie Bach. Whatever it was.
I will never buy a Bach car.
Well, the funny thing is, I said that to the Bach people last fall when I was buying a car, and they assured me that Ernie Bach had nothing to do with Bach Motors anymore.
Not most of them he doesn't. There's one or two of them that
Yeah.
he does, but still.
They have to be used
But
car
I mean,
companies.
unfortunately, I won't go into Boston's biggest theater because it's now used to be the Wang Center. Now it's the Bach Center.
I know.
It
And
used to be the Metropolitan when I was little.
Metropolitan,
And when I was a kid, it was the music hall.
the music
I
hall.
loved the music hall.
That sounds like just the place to go, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in any case, that's where we stand at the moment.
I'm sitting.
Michael, what's happening today, or we think is happening today,
well,
of special interest to you?
In Springfield.
Yes, the opening up a new hamburger store out there. I think isn't that it? Oh,
They're finally
but you
opening
can bet
your
on
casino.
when it's going to open.
You've been asking when your casino was coming all this time. I'm surprised you aren't in your car driving out
MGM.
to put down your money.
I'm buying those state tickets. I'm not going to fool around with this stuff.
That's another ad that they're running. That's
The
A-
MGM one?
hugely expensive production values in that thing, and unless you can read the very fine print at the end, you don't know what the hell they're advertising.
But you know, it's not even. Well, are you talking about the one with all the people dancing in the street?
Yeah.
I mean, for those of us who know, okay, Springfield looks nothing like this. So so
I have no idea where they filmed that. I have no idea what their message was, and Springfield comes out in like 8-point type.
oh, okay.
And I don't have a great big huge TV, so I can't even read it
Yeah.
on my TV.
Well, what I find this is silly. What I find is sad is someone told me that you can't put coins in
In the slot
in a
machine
slot
anymore.
machine anymore and pull the lever.
No, that's what they
They
say.
have these cards or
Yeah.
whatever that you put in, and you
you
just
punch
tap
a button.
Well, I mean, I only went to hear the chinka 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 and see the coins dribble down. So
The
I know,
fun
they
is
take-
pulling that handle.
Yeah.
They've taken a lot of the fun out
taking
of it.
all the fun out of it.
I remember when I was a little kid, we took a trip and we stopped in, this happened to be Winnemucca, Nevada. And
Yeah, I was there.
and we had to-
Winnemucca. Yeah, I mean it.
we had to walk through the casino on the way to dinner.
Yes.
And I was a little kid, and my mother wanted to teach me the evils of gambling. So at the first gas station in Nevada we stopped at, she gave me like 4 nickels. And I put 3 nickels in the machine and lost them all. And then her luck was not with her because I put the 4th one in and I won 6 nickels. I parlayed those nickels all the way across Nevada. But I was standing there watching this woman, and she was like in a trance. She was pulling the thing, money would drop. She never even looked down.
Wow.
She'd just reach down, scoop it up, put it back in the machine. You know, it was like, ah, ah, ah. And for some reason I said to her, would you play my nickel for me? She said, sure, kid. And I said, but wait a minute. You've been there for quite a while. What if my nickel wins? And the whole addiction to gambling can be summed up by her answer to an 11-year-old kid. She said, it's okay, kid, as long as my hand's on the machine when it pays off. You know? So, I don't know. In retrospect, that might have meant I'll keep the money anyway.
Yeah.
But at the time, I thought it was, I'll still get the same thrill as
Yeah.
long as I'm
we
there.
went through the same thing you did. I remember you had to walk through the casino to get to the restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, kids weren't allowed in the
I was
casinos.
going to say kids aren't allowed in the casino.
Right, but you had to walk through the casino to get to the restaurant.
Oh.
And of course, the kids were allowed in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Every place else there in those days, there was a yellow line on the door,
Okay.
and a kid couldn't step over it without alarms going off, you know, which was really too bad because my father had driven me all the way to Reno, Nevada, because I wanted to see the auto collection at Harrah's in Reno. And of course, I couldn't go in because it was in the middle of the casino. So we went back to the car and we left Nevada.
We went to Reno too.
Anyway, so now your casino is there. You've been wanting it for quite a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah, but it's not a casino in the way I like. I want to see all these special effects that they have from the one in Las Vegas. You know, with the pyramid and they got the Florence.
Oh. We're not going to have all that out in Springfield.
I
Well,
want to see that stuff.
It's going to be pretty fancy.
Well, it doesn't look like that when they show it in the
Well, here's the
paper.
thing. You can, in 2 years, you can take a nice drive west. And what can you hit first in 2 years?
I don't know what.
Another
The
casino in
Parsons
New
are
York.
leaving Rhode Island.
Oh, they're going to Worcester.
They're going to Worcester.
Going to
They're
Worcester.
going to be in Polar, they're going to call it Polar Stadium or Polar something.
Can I bet on their games?
But they'll be there in 2021, I think.
By that time,
What the-
we'll have our Everett casino,
That's
and
right.
we'll be all.
Oh boy!
So you can go
Now-
from Everett to Worcester to Springfield.
You know, if I was the MGM people, now that I'm ready to open, I'd immediately file suit to enjoin that other place from calling itself a casino.
What, the one in Springfield?
No,
Wait,
no.
The one that has the
The
track.
one down on the south,
Yeah,
south in that old
they have a
racetrack.
trotting place.
You know,
Oh, the one in Plainfield?
yeah,
Plainfield.
Plainfield.
Plainfield, calling itself a casino.
Yeah.
And it is by law a slots parlor.
I was going to say,
It's not legal for it to call it a casino, but since we have the most inept and corrupt gaming commission, thanks to Duval Patrick, they're doing nothing about it. I mean, this is my problem with the Democratic primary
But
for
they're
governor.
funny. They're fun to watch them fumble around with everything. Nothing ever works with those guys, the people there. Isn't that humorous?
That's fun. You must have been a big fan of Dapper O'Neill and Pixie Palladino and that group of fumblers.
I have good hearty laughs when I watch and listen to our president. I think it's
Right.
fun.
He watches democracy going down the drain and laughs. I guess he has the right because he's one of the people who maintained it for us. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the big Unrehearsed Thespian Society's presentation for this evening, skimmed nearly off the top, nearly off the middle of the vault, a classic educational polemic entitled Recovery Action. Hey, Mike, does your old buddy keep calling you?
At least twice a day.
he's concerned about you.
That's good. Somebody is.
Thanks, but it's his health.
I don't get it.
Wants me to ask how he is,
And of course, naturally, you do.
but he's not listening.
Confusing me?
He's telling me about his lunch omelet.
Wait a second, is this scripted?
So I ask what kind.
Eggs and onion, right?
Yes, but his wife can't remember what an onion looks like.
It's not important. He's watching National Geographic on TV anyway.
Animals in the wild?
Does he watch during lunch?
First, he has to get to the kitchen.
He uses his walker.
No, his litter bearers carry him there.
Is he related to the pharaohs?
Who used to own a haberdashery in downtown Cairo.
So he's used to luxury.
He has gourmet preparation by his personal chef.
Not just a fry-up of eggs and malodorous condiments.
Rather common, isn't it?
Yes, but healthy and cheap.
I thought he was rich.
Oh, that was before the market collapsed.
Better times are coming.
Self-indulgence has its place.
Well, somebody has to be rich.
Is that really necessary?
Then you're feeling better about the stimulus and bailout?
Sure, it's an interesting concept. You spend $745 billion, or is it $1 trillion plus?
It's only money.
And if it doesn't succeed, we can go back to bankruptcy.
And have a full-scale domestic disaster.
But keep a stiff upper lip.
A little national bleeding.
You know, it's exactly what Limbaugh and Coulter would suggest.
Financial triage, huh?
Can't always have a spoonful of sugar.
Anyway, that's what Sarah and that mass hairstylist in the wings.
My doctor diagnosed gout and prescribed.
Pain dissipated and the swelling went down, but you're still sick.
Hey, what about that stress test?
The myocardial perfusion with the thallus chloride?
Whoa.
What you got on the treadmill?
To detect any ischemic ventricular abnormality.
Beta blockers, nitro, and caffeine can help.
So it's recovery mode, like our economy?
Yeah, but I'd be very skeptical of any overconfidence here.
It's like a reverse mortgage, I assume.
I guess it's all education.
President said incompetent teachers should be terminated.
And does that mean those who motivate students should be paid more?
Have to measure student achievement.
Sure, like the surges in Iraq and Afghanistan.
And no child left behind.
But, of course, they were.
Well, that was political pressure from the states.
Specious data on dropouts and poor graduation rates.
It sounds like Wall Street disclosures.
No national curriculum or testing for real regulation.
Well, I'm in favor of what works in the schools.
Evaluating teachers and administrative performance.
Not easy to replicate school success.
The president wants the best staff and leaders in the neediest schools.
How novel. Does he want that in rural districts too?
Sends his daughter to a D.C. private school.
So did the Clintons.
Well, Education Secretary Duncan gets $100 billion to begin the process.
He wants to see real improvement.
New ideas, innovation in the state application.
But how do you keep politicians out of it?
Transformation never comes without pain.
Stakes are very high.
We got to have parental cooperation and support.
And they want choice.
Charter schools deserve a place at the table.
Hey, come on, with all their imperfections, public schools serve all our students.
So they have to do better.
All kids can learn.
Now there's a mantra we have to buy into.
And you have to like working with kids first.
It might mean a longer school day and year.
You know what Secretary of State Powell said to the kids? Pull up your socks.
And apply yourself.
Learning to read, think, and write is not boring.
Neither is texting while driving.
Yes, and teachers deserve fair contracts.
But there has to be commitment to the mission.
Without students, all the schools would close.
That's true.
Some will in Boston.
Yeah, no matter what the contracts and budgets say.
Pretty simple facts for the union and management to accept.
So people who don't want to do the job should go.
Inspiring kids to study is hard work.
Like coming to school every day on time.
It's all part of preparation for their future.
Teachers and principals have to be role models.
Adults who spend more time with their students daily.
Perhaps for remediation and enrichment.
And we haven't even mentioned special needs and bilingual programs.
Evaluation means constant oversight in classrooms.
That's me. Rejection of constructive criticism is denial.
It does not lead to a positive, secure, and lively school environment.
Does the school community reflect our society's imperfections?
A faculty is made up of human beings with different viewpoints.
Nevertheless, celebrating our history and holidays should unite us.
Our Constitution sets down our rights, privileges, and duties.
But new teachers need more supervision and assistance.
Some mentoring by experienced staff can help.
Well, that's interesting because the Boston Teachers Unit staffs and manages a school in Boston now.
With the approval of the school committee and the superintendent.
However, salaries are paid by Boston taxpayers.
And Governor Patrick's readiness schools, are Governor Patrick's readiness schools like charters or like pilot schools?
And what about private, independent, and parochial schools?
President Obama has indicated he opposes vouchers.
But he does favor better pay for science and math teachers.
He complimented math teachers for the MCAS test results.
Unemployed professionals are seeking teaching positions.
Will Secretary Duncan fund new school positions?
Well, with a possible extended day and a longer year.
When was the last time union officers taught?
30 years ago.
That seems provocative, but the media might like to look into it.
Can union grievances impede the principal's duties?
I know you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
And this is a good time for collaboration.
And sounds better than collective bargaining,
Well, the president provided some necessary guidelines.
which were not popular with the AFT and the NEA.
Well, at least we can agree he's trying not to leave any children behind.
I'm pushing his race to the top.
Amen.
Blackout.
I have a basic problem with paying one group of teachers better than another group of teachers. Why is a science or math teacher more valuable than an English or a social studies teacher? You know?
Or an art teacher.
Or an
a
art-
music
Because
Or
it's
an art
harder to
teacher
get
or anything
a
else.
science or a math teacher than it is to get a social studies or an English teacher. It just is.
Why? There's nothing easier to teach than math.
It just isn't popular with teachers, math. You were a teacher for a long time, you remember.
It wasn't that I didn't like teaching math. It's certain things that they wouldn't allow, don't get me started. They wouldn't allow you to teach.
True.
I always remember my son's, I think it was 7th grade math teacher, almost every day he'd tell his students how he always hated math. I wanted to go in there and bop him. You know, how are you going to inspire your kids to learn and enjoy math when every single day you tell them that you always hated math?
It's like, I hate
And it's not like I always hated math and then I learned to love it. No,
Yeah.
it was a very clear message. I still hate math.
Well, I liked word problems. And I kind of...
Wood problem?
Yeah,
Word.
word problems.
A
and
word
then later
problem.
on when I was
You know,
teaching
it's a
some
train
math,
leaving Michigan at
Yeah.
7 o'clock and, you know.
Right, right. There's a train leaving Michigan at 7 a.m. There's a train leaving Philadelphia at 3 p.m. How many eggs are in a dozen?
Yeah.
so-
Speaking of trains, we're getting new ones for the Red Line.
Oh, yes. Very
Yeah.
interesting. They have them on display at
Yeah.
City Hall at the moment. Apparently, you can actually make comments on whether you want them or not. But
But I bet you dimes to donuts if they went and just cleaned the ones they have, they'd be better in terms of aerodynamics.
You ever hear of Asia Argento? She's an Italian actress, director, and she's paying Jimmy Bennett,
Okay.
a young actor and musician, she's paying him $380,000 for abusing him sexually at age 17. And the age of, where this happened, the age of consent in California is 18. Now, in California, the hotel room is also They also have photos, and the New York Times reporter said that all these legal documents were sent to them also to authenticate this story.
And you find this amusing. Why?
It's much more than the money that what's his name had to pay.
Well,
The president.
that's because she's a liberal. The thing is, buying off your victims is apparently much cheaper for Donald Trump.
And he's got more.
Yeah, but,
Well, yeah, he
but
has
this is
many,
a
many
woman,
more to buy
a
off.
woman abusing a young man.
Yes, and she also happens to be the principal and first accuser of Weinstein.
Yes,
And this is why it's a story,
Oh.
Well,
because they're trying to excuse Weinstein
is he
by
paying the
this situation.
$380,000? No.
What's her name? Who is this woman?
Asia Argento. She's a director and
Right,
a
she was,
actress.
I believe, the first one to accuse
Oh, okay.
Weinstein.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the a lot of time will be spent saying, okay, so we can forget this, no more movement or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
We can forget these women who are complaining, write them off, it's no longer a story. This balances everything out. See, it's everybody.
Yeah.
Men aren't picking on women, women are picking on men.
Good.
See, their story, this proves the whole thing, forget it. The interesting story is the fact that we have known intellectually but haven't admitted publicly for a long time is that abused individuals very often end up being abusers.
Right.
Abused children, unfortunately, often grow up to be abusers. You find a parent who abuses their children, and on a significant percentage of the time, you find out that parent was abused as a child, and they're damaged. This is a case where this woman was abused, and unfortunately, it appears that she reacted by being an abuser. It is interesting that no charges will be filed because the victim refuses to complain.
Right.
Now, you can say he refuses to complain because he got $200,000 more than Stormy Daniels
Stormy
got.
Daniels and
But
and the other one.
on the other hand,
On the other
the
hand,
thing is that
okay.
the whole case of abuse, whether it's child abuse or other forms of abuse, is a very sad topic that we haven't really honestly confronted at this point.
And did you know that V.S. Naipaul, the famous author
Yeah.
from Trinidad, is dead at 85. He was
I
a
was gonna say-
Nobel Prize winner
Okay.
with a very nasty sense of humor, by the way.
And Kofi Annan died too.
Kofi Annan died,
Yes.
yes.
That's
Kofi
true.
Annan, the first African Secretary General of the UN.
And really hard times too
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
with that job.
I
Yeah.
find it interesting that Ann Coulter,
Yes.
who is one of the most despicable human beings on the face of the earth, but has been up to this time
But she washes
a
a lot.
passionate supporter of the current occupant of the White House,
Yes.
came out
Yes.
this
Okay.
past week and said that it's time that Donald Trump stopped hiring apprentice dropouts and family members, and that he should start hiring smart people.
Is Paul Manafort going to be found guilty?
Yes.
What do you say? What do you say, Susan?
I said yes.
Yes, but there's 18 counts, charges.
But then
He's going to be found guilty on every single charge.
The president said, "I love this guy, and I get
It's
along
terrible
great
what
with
they're
him."
doing to him.
he
Terrible what they're
also
doing
said
to
that
him.
he liked Omarosa, and now he's calling her a dog.
Yeah, right.
So
right,
anyways,
But
She's
he
good
probably
though.
does
She got all
love this
those
guy.
tapes she hid.
He probably does love this guy because this guy refuses to roll over on him. He absolutely believes he's going to be pardoned. And if he is, that'll be the end of the Trump presidency. Although Trump is may well be found guilty on the emolument suit. Play it out, sir. Play something.
So today's we'll be back the when, the
Huh?
30th? No, today's the 20th. 27th?
Our next show, the
Yeah,
27th, yes.
Are we still
I
on?
was told that on our last show,
Yes.
we were still on when we thought we were off.
Oh, okay.
So,
That was all right.
do we have any notice that we're actually off?
I haven't gotten one.
Okay, so
wait a
I'll,
minute. Maybe you
I'll
did
just
send me
tell you,
something
I
and
like
missed it.
John Brennan, and and even though he's
Oh.
having a tough time there, they took away his right to
Well,
talk about
here's
this
an
stuff.
interesting
He said
thing
we're
that
still
I,
on YouTube.
two things I didn't get to on my list
Yeah.
was the Trump administration is now trying to roll back the Military Lending Act
Right.
because they think it's an unfair imposition on businessmen. And by and large, the most important thing the Military Lending Act does is it puts a limit of 36% on loans that you can make to active duty military people. And apparently Trump thinks 36% isn't enough for active duty soldiers to pay for their used cars or stuff like that.
Can you name the Democratic candidate for governor?
Sure.
What's his name?
Gonzalez.
Very good.
Jay Gonzalez and Massey.
And Massey.
I don't remember Massey's first name at the moment,
can't
and I don't
remember.
really care between them. Jay Gonzalez is going to win. I mean, can you name the Democratic candidates for
No.
lieutenant governor?
Lieutenant governor? Well, the Democratic? I didn't even see. I hunted in all these magazines. I couldn't find it.
Well, the more interesting one is Jimmy Tingle.
Oh, that's. I did. I
that
saw
sign. I was
that.
driving here and I saw Jimmy Chung. I went,
Yeah.
the comedian?
Yep,
Yeah, I voted
he's
for
running
him.
for lieutenant
Okay, I
governor.
like that.
Oh, did you vote already, my
Yes.
friend? Oh, good.
Okay.
But the problem is that Jay Gonzalez is going to win. But his whole campaign is that he was in Deval Patrick's cabinet. And I'm sorry to say it, that's in my mind a reason not to vote for him.
Well, that's okay.
Because Deval Patrick was the biggest personal disappointment in my entire political life.
Did you know that Trump has an infrastructure bill in Congress which will cost $1.5 trillion
For what?
for infrastructure? He doesn't know, I don't think, what
Oh, no, but
infrastructure
it's a sham because most of that money is theoretically meant to come from states and private corporations.
Well, that's another.
I mean, he campaigned on this great promise to refresh America's infrastructure, and it's sort of like the wall. In essence, he wants Mexico to pay for it.
The last thing I'm going to say
Okay.
is that there are too many strikeouts in professional baseball, and the people are falling asleep in the stands. That's what the report.
Strikeouts is the one thing they love next to home runs.
No, they don't like it anymore because there are too many of them. And
Who
it's
says
not,
they don't like
it's
it?
not
They're
action.
still out in the stands putting up those Ks.
People are throwing the ball and it ends up in a glove. That's not exciting. When the ball goes over the fence, that's good. Okay, well, are we done?
Nope.
We've been done for a long time.
Oh, thank
We've
you.
been done since you played.
Oh,
No, he says Chris and
I was
everyone-
just
oh,
making
okay.
sure we weren't still
Oh,
on.
okay. No, we're still broadcasting.
We are?
We still are. We still
Really?
are. Yeah.
Son of a gun.
Yep. So, I was going to say something about.
We can't be broadcasting.
That's what
we,
he said.
We should have been off for 6 minutes now.
Yeah. He is signing off, he says. Still broadcasting, he is signing off. Okay, so, is he signing off?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're sorry to say that we're still on the air. So this is the Fun Show on Big TV. And with any luck, we'll be back same time, same channel next week. Don't forget to vote. Go down to Town Hall or show up at the polls on September 4th. Good night.
wait a minute. Is this Sunday?